Hey everyone, welcome to Film Talk, a podcast where two gals talk film, television, and everything in between the reels. I'm your host, Ileana Melendez, head of marketing and a critic here at FullCircleCinema.com, and I'm joined here today by my ever so lovely co-host, as always, Miss Josie Melendez.
Hi.
We're doing a little techie stuff today. Fingers crossed,
Yes.
everything works. We're playing around with our setup. We are at a distance today because there's a high COVID alert on this island.
Yes.
And I really implore everyone watching, please stay home if you can. We would really like for the vaccines to work. Thank you. This has been a
Yes, please.
PSA. Yes, we would. I am now. We are Pfizer princesses now. I would just like everyone to
Yes, we
know.
are.
That's the flex.
Also, just a PSA, wear your masks, get your vaccines if they're available to you, because we want to see the Eternals.
We want to. That's literally it. That's all we're trying to. That is our goal for 2021. We just want to see the Eternals in
We want COVID to
IMAX.
go away, first and foremost, so that all these movies can stop getting pushed back.
Please, thank
And
you.
so we can leave our houses.
Please, we're Pfizer princesses, but us going out is just going out for takeout without getting anxiety.
Yeah.
just lowering anxiety. So yeah, stay safe, and if you are going to the movies safely, remember mask up, social distancing, and what we're going to be talking about just came out on HBO Max and released in theaters. You're watching this on Monday. This came out last Friday. Today's Saturday for us. Mortal Kombat. Now, I'm just I would just like to preface this. We are we have two very distinct perspectives here. I am a gamer girl who very much likes Mortal Kombat. Josie is not of the same opinion and experience. She's a normal person.
Well, I'm more of slice of life games. You know the one with the
The
animals
Last
that
of
are
Us, yeah, that's
crossing.
a really good slice of life. Yeah, Resident Evil is that's a really good, like,
Okay,
slice of
being
life.
honest, my top two video games, Animal Crossing and Until Dawn. And those are two different sides of the spectrum.
I respect it, though, because they're two very solid games.
They
Until Dawn
are.
is fun.
I have never fallen in love with a video game until I played Until Dawn.
It's just cinematic. It was that
It
era of
is.
video games going into and really leaning into their cinematic side of
Yeah.
things. So it's fun. It's very fun. Mortal Kombat is nothing of the sort.
No.
But but I love and respect it either way. I am not the most hardcore Mortal Kombat fan, I must say. I am only a zillennial, and I didn't grow up playing Mortal Kombat, unfortunately, because conservative parents. So it was more of
Understandable.
a later high school sort of thing. I started playing Mortal Kombat like properly in my home when Mortal Kombat 10 came out, or Mortal Kombat X, whatever you want to call it. And I fell in love because it's just really neat. It's just really neat. It's really
It's really
fun.
neat.
It's just really fun. But it's one of those games where the plot is not the point. And this is a very important point here to preface the critique of this film once we dive into it. The story of these games is not the strongest. It's very much loosely strung along prompts
Yeah.
for you to play and do the combat. That's the point. That's fine. That's cool. This isn't like a Last of Us. This isn't an Until Dawn.
Yeah.
We are aware before you
Yeah,
go
'cause
typing down and clickety clacking in the comments.
yeah, because the thing with this film, and this is me talking about the film specifically, it felt like a Godzilla versus Kong situation where you're probably not going in for story so much as action. And at least that's the mentality I had when I was going in, because I'm not familiar with the game, I'm not familiar with the lore, I'm not familiar with the characters, story structure, etc. So I was looking at this film as a film, and especially as an action film. And yeah, I have my thoughts.
We're going to get into it. So, for those of you who do not know what Mortal Kombat is a video game to film adaptation that has just released on HBO Max. It is starring a bunch of actors that I don't remember their names.
They were really good, though. They were my favorite part.
They were, honestly, the cast is what really more or less redeems this film for a lot of us. I think the cast really carried it, and the enthusiasm with everyone with these characters was what made the movie. Because aside from that, it just felt like there wasn't a particular grand amount of care that went into this. And I'm not here to bash the creators. I'm not here to say, oh, they're not as good Mortal Kombat fans as we are. No. It's just the execution could have been a lot better. Like, the attention to detail could have been a lot better. There were some, more meta call outs and references to the game, such as the spamming the one move to kick someone down. That was actually, incorporated pretty well into the film, and I thought it was funny. There is a lot of, how do I say? They lean on comedic relief a lot of the times, and a lot of the times the comedic relief wasn't necessary. No. Or if they at least make it funny. If you're going to have comedic relief, try to make it funny. And a lot of times it would just fall flat. But yeah, I think I was going in with very low expectations for the plot and the screenwriting in the movie as a whole, because that's fine. We get it. The bar is set really low. Straight from the source material. The bar is down here. Y'all don't even see it. The bar is very low. And that's fine. But you go to see Mortal Kombat, even if you're not a Mortal Kombat fan, from the trailers, this is marketed as a movie that you go to see for the violence, the action, the gore, the fights, the choreography. You go in to see that. And that's what I was going for. That's what I was really, really rooting for. And even that fell flat to me. And I was very disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, as a long, more or less longtime fan of the video games, I think the screenwriting obviously suffered a lot. The direction suffered so much more than I expected. Like, the quality of the movie and the choreography of the fight scenes, it went all over the place, to the point where the only two worthwhile fights are like the opening sequence and like the last fight, which you see both in the trailer. So the trailers really just kind of gave away the best points, the best bits of the movie, and everything else in between just really felt cheap. It just felt cheap, and not in a, oh, this is cheap but fun way. I was bored at a certain point, and I really didn't want to feel that way, but unfortunately I did. So Josie, yeah. you going in more or less blind, how did you feel?
So my thoughts are pretty brief. I was very confused for a lot of it, and for me, that's mostly in part of the script, because even if you're not familiar with the source material, if a script is good enough, it should be able to carry the viewer regardless of their background with the source material. And yeah, it was just underwhelming and overwhelming at the same time, mostly because I really enjoyed the character arcs, and I did enjoy a lot of the people that were involved. I thought their acting was the best part, and it was my favorite part, because I ended up caring a lot about what was going on because of the people in it. And I just think they could benefit. I really do hope, because they have planned for a trilogy, and the entire time I was waiting for the tournament and we didn't get it, so I'm hoping that we do get to see that in the future. I would like to see it. But
by the way, this is a spoiler discussion.
Yeah.
Sorry. Big disappointment. There's no tournament. They said we're gonna have a Mortal Kombat tournament, and it wasn't there, fam.
Yeah, so from the beginning they mentioned the tournament, and then it never happens. And again, they have mentioned that it will be a trilogy if they are given the opportunity to do so, and I would actually like to see them try a second time. I just think they could benefit from a better script.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I think not necessarily bothers me. I feel like that's too strong of a word, but it kind of nags at me a little bit. You know, like it's nagging me in the sense that I would love to see them try again. Like I would give
Mm-hmm.
them the second chance, and because it's one of those movies that I can't even say it's so bad it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And not like the older Mortal Kombat movies where, you know, the expectation's already there. It's so bad it's good, fine. Very, very campy, gory, exaggerated, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, this movie tries to be campy. This movie really tries to be campy with the violence and the gore, and it felt like it was too afraid to do so consistently. Because for those of us that are Mortal Kombat fans or have at least seen or are familiar with what Mortal Kombat remotely looks like, it's disgusting. It's nasty. It's super gory. It's super ridiculous. You have these fatalities and brutality finishing moves. And this is going to sound weird. That's what I was looking forward to. We only had like one actual, like, actually cool, ridiculous finishing move like halfway through the movie. And it was cool, but really short
Yeah.
lived.
No,
And
you know
yeah,
what I was looking forward to? The blood dagger that we see in the trailer, and then it just appears once.
it just they really just teased so much of a grander film
Mm-hmm.
than it was. And like they teased such a grand film, and even then my expectations were very much low. And my expectations were like, oh, you know, I'm not expecting this movie to be total trash. I wanted to get at least these points. There, you know, the bar was here. It was healthy, and they just didn't reach it consistently. They did meet some of the expectations very, very briefly. Like the movie, yeah, the film really just it felt so long yet so rushed at the same time. Like the pacing of it was so, like Josie mentioned, it was underwhelming and overwhelming at the same time. So strangely, because it was almost like they wanted to dive into the whole story and the lore so quickly to like, okay, we're going to cut to the chase here. They treated the story as a hindrance, like a burden. Like, okay, we have to just make a prompt here so that these two guys will fight each other. Sorry. Like
Yeah.
that's how the writing felt. And okay, fine. I can forgive that if you're going to deliver on the action that you're trying to rush to. Because even then, a lot the like I was mentioning to Josie, I was kind of going off. I was going off on Josie's ear last night through text. I was like, you know, the whole point of Mortal Kombat is the creativity of the fights, the gore, and the precision. We're gonna stick on precision right now as like a factor here. And I am not the end all be all critic and representative of Mortal Kombat fans, so sue me. But the whole point is that you can see everything that's going on with the fight. And you know, it's a video game, it's animated, that is done with that purpose. Very well done. And that's what I wanted to see in the movie. And you know who accomplishes that? Because here's my thing. You can call something camp, but it doesn't mean that they did good camp. So, you know who does good camp and good gore and good fight choreography that is precise and creative? Deadpool. Deadpool does that, and it does that in a very, very effective manner. And Deadpool is nowhere, it's gory, but it's not Mortal Kombat gory because that's not the point.
Yeah.
But you can actually see the punches land. You can appreciate and breathe as you're observing the creativity of these fights. And the fight choreography is very, very structured. And it keeps you on edge. It's the whole point is it's not predictable because you expect this certain move, you know, to happen, and then the person, like, you know, spins it on its head and does something super extra, super ridiculous. Like, Mortal Kombat characters are the drag queens of video games. And I'm not sorry to say that. It's the whole thing is the drama. It's the extra. It's the theater of it all, of the fight. And I feel like they were just too afraid to give us that in this movie because they tried to make it more palatable for the mainstream. And I don't think that Mortal Kombat needs to be something that's mainstream. Deadpool is more mainstream than Mortal Kombat. And like I said, I feel like they were able to execute, in both parts 1 and 2, they were able to execute that gory camp violence and fight choreography far more effectively than Mortal Kombat. And that's what really disappointed me. And that because that was the expectation that I had.
Yeah, because it's mostly Deadpool knows what it is.
Exactly.
Mortal Kombat, I think, is still trying to find out where it falls in place in, like, the movie industry right now.
Yeah, it's just there are some points that I do appreciate that it wasn't afraid to be like Mortal Kombat, but I didn't find that same energy throughout the movie. And there are a lot of points where I'm like, go off, sis, give us nothing. Give us nothing. And you know what? That's what they gave. Like it felt almost lazy at points, which was really unfortunate. Like once again, I really wish I wanted to like be the contradicting voice on this review today. I want to be like, you know what, this is the first time that Josie and I don't agree on a movie. Y'all are still gonna have to wait for that to happen because someday, because honestly, it was no bueno. It was really, really disappointing, and I think that disappointed overshadowed the things that I liked about it initially. So last night I had to like sit down and be like, okay, what did I like about it? I really loved Cole Young. I loved him. I thought he was a very, very strong protagonist. Obviously, again, we're ignoring the dialogue here. The dialogue was subpar at best, but his presence on screen really good. I would really I'm excited to see him in more films. I think that he is really good as an actor and as an action star, and I think he has a much more promising future ahead of him in the industry, I hope. So Cole Young was a really good character as a protagonist. We had Sonia Blade. She was a little iffy at first because she very much, like, once again, the introduction to these characters felt so shoehorned, which is fine. I get it. Cut to the chase. I'm trying to be nice here, but it felt so shoehorned in. And I'm not saying this has to be a masterpiece. This does not have to be a piece of art. You know, it doesn't have to be the best dialogue, but put in just a little bit of effort, just a tiny bit, just to make it. You know, you were trying to do something and accomplish something, and because of all of these bumps in the road, it took away from that end goal with the film. If your end goal was that gore, that camp, that violence, then try to polish things around it and polish that element first and foremost. But if you're just going to leave everything just really rough, the editing was really rough. I felt very early to mid 2000s in terms of editing style and the cinematography. I'm sorry. It's just one of those things. It's one of those things where I really, really tried to like it. I do like the characters. I think Kano was also a standout, even though he got kind of annoying at times, but it worked. Like I think his presence in the story worked. I'm not spoiler. It was kind of lame how quickly he just kind of switched to like the bad guy side and then was immediately killed by Sonia Blade just so Sonia Blade could get her mark. Again, like I
hated his character.
Yeah. No, he was one of those characters that you love to hate. And, like, I just hated him more than I loved him. But I think, like, he had his purpose. He served his purpose.
No love.
He served his purpose. He had some lines that I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. It's stupid, but it's funny.
Is that from a writing standpoint? I'm going to be snobby for a moment. It was definitely an archetype that we see a lot, but it was played to an extent that it wasn't even, they weren't even, it just didn't feel original.
Yeah, there were definitely, like, a lot of copy-paste tropes in this movie. And it's just, when Mortal Kombat is trying to present itself in a completely new era, because I don't recall when the last Mortal Kombat film was made, but it was probably a hot minute ago. So when you're trying to present this new, not new, but you're trying to present this story and these characters to a relatively new audience, because I'm not saying like not everyone knows what Mortal Kombat is, or not everyone is completely familiar with what Mortal Kombat is about, and you're trying to go mainstream. The standard, if you're trying to be a good blockbuster, the standard has to, you have to meet a much higher standard than you did before. Because, early 2000s and mid 2000s films, like, the bar was set a lot lower. We all just went off loving Fantastic Four, and if we see it today, you're loving for the nostalgia factor. Sorry, technical difficulties. But yeah, as I was saying, if you're going to present the story to a relatively mainstream and new audience, we have so many better quality options at our disposal, especially in this, environment of streaming services. And though this HBO Max agenda still reigns supreme at this point, it was more of a miss than a hit this week with HBO Max. And I'm just really disappointed. I'm not saying that it's a movie that should be completely discarded. I feel like Warner Brothers should give it another shot, but just invest. Like one of our critics, Rascal, he wrote the review this week on fullcirclecinema.com. The link will be down below. He had very similar views, and he's a much bigger Mortal Kombat fan than I am. And it's just, it's something that you really, really want to see thrive and succeed, because it does have that potential. And I think this entry into like the video game to film adaptation genre just kind of brought us back to the much weaker entries to the franchise, to the genre.
I think one thing I want to add, and I think this is the last thing I'll say about Mortal Kombat, is that clearly people that love the game and all its iterations, all the iterations of the game, genuinely wanted to like it. So it's not so much that people are upset with the film because it didn't meet their standards. It's simply there are just a few things here and there that can be improved. And if that is done, specifically story-wise, I think like character arcs and the plot, if you modified that, people will definitely show up for a number 2.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think if they really show that they're gonna make a much stronger effort in the plot, the story, the screenwriters, and the cinematography, and just kind of build up on what they have so far, I'd be there. I'd be down. I'd be there day one, because it's something that could, I think, really be fun on screen, because Mortal Kombat is one of those things where you don't have to be so restricted with the story you go with. You can kind of freestyle it into something perhaps even better than the video games if you want, without taking away the important main elements of the video game, which is that violence, that fight choreography, that gore, that camp, and the characters. Because that's really what a lot of us are just really attached to. So that's what we'll say on that. Go ahead and watch it. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. I really hope whoever's also a really big fan of Mortal Kombat loves it more than we did. Because it's something that the hype was built up to an extent that when that first trailer hit, I was like, this is gonna be good. Finally, it wasn't. But it's okay. It's literally fine. It's available on HBO Max. When the trailer
came out,
it was such a strong trailer. Unfortunately to say, it is really unfortunate to say that the movie did not meet that trailer's expectations. Like, the expectations were set at a relatively healthy level with that trailer, and the film just didn't. Go ahead, check out Mortal Kombat over on HBO Max. Let us know what you thought. Be sure to read Rascal's review in the description below, and be sure to follow us on Full Circle Cinema here on YouTube and Twitter. Check us out on fullcirclecinema.com as well for news, reviews, interviews, and everything else in between. Where can they find you, Miss Josie?
Well, you can find me at the Josie Marie on Twitter and Letterboxd, and also you can find Film Posers at Film Posers basically everywhere.
Yes, and you can find me at Captain Melendez on Twitter and Instagram, and I also have a website, ileanamelendez.com, if y'all want to see what I'm up to and the fun things I create. And that's been all for today's episode. It's been a hot minute since we've had an episode, since Godzilla vs. Kong, and we really hope that we get into more fun and exciting reviews very soon. This is us pre-Oscars, so we'll see how our spirits are doing post-Oscars. Follow us on Full Circle Cinema on Twitter to check out our Oscar live tweets and reporting. And I hope you guys have a lovely day. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Bye.